All right. So officially, good morning and welcome to PHEMS. I don't know how much of you have done any research about PHEMS and what it is that we do here, except, of course, that you know that we do EMT training, hence you're here this morning. But I'll just tell you a little bit about us. And we have been around on the university campus well over 20 years. I think we're probably approaching about 25 years in operation. And we train EMTs across the island and across both the public and the private sector. We have been training since 1996 to date. And as you may or may not know, that Fire Brigade is the public EMS service that is offered in this country. Now, capacity to cover the entire island, and as such, we've had private ambulance services popping up here and there. I am sure maybe some of you are working, have worked, or is aspiring to work with one of such company, or you may be in an organization that has its own EMS system. And so the essence of EMS is to provide first response in times of emergency. And these emergencies can take the form of trauma or medical emergencies. When you come to PHEMS, the idea is that you will be so trained to provide such a service in case the need arise. Ms. Johnson had her hand up. Is it that you're not hearing me well? Because I also recognize that my internet is unstable. Was that the case, Ms. Johnson?
No, I'm hearing you clearly.
Pardon?
I'm hearing you.
Okay. All right, great. So, right, so the essence of EMS is to provide emergency services to persons who are either critically ill or injured. So in a summary, that is what the focus of this course is going to be on, and to get you the necessary skills that will help you to be able to provide such a service in an efficient manner when the time arrives. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand very clearly from the onset that the success, your success rather, is dependent on the amount of time, work, and effort that you put into it. Let me say that the course is not a walkover. Okay? The course is not a walkover. It's a lot of material to be covered in a short space of time. And we have to ensure that you are competent. So when a certificate is issued, it is issued on the basis that you have demonstrated competency both in the theoretical aspect as well as in the practical aspect of being able to handle an emergency. So I want to caution you that even though this course is being done online and you are going to have work that you need to complete in your own time, and we may say that it is 3 months, and 3 months look like a lot of time. Let me tell you that by the time you blink 2 times, you're at the end of the course. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this to tell you that we have to start on a solid foundation We have to put the preparations in place if we want to be successful at the end of the day, right? Those of you say to you, try and garner some, because during these 12 weeks, you're going to definitely, at the same time, it also puts pressure on you. So your best chance of success is to have support on your side, and you having the motivation, the self motivation to power through this course in the next 12 weeks. All right. All right. So, having said that, let me also say that we understand that most of you are working, if not all persons are working. The classes will be recorded for the most part, and there is information on the system. So once you get your login information from MITS, you will have information on the platform that you can utilize. You will meet with your lectures twice per week, on a Tuesday and on a Thursday. Now, persons are of the view that, okay, since the lectures are recorded, then, if I miss one here, I can always catch up. I'm going to ask you to be very, very careful in doing that, because when you miss one lecture and you have another one that is coming up, it is not easy for you to catch up and stay ahead, right? So if you miss one and you have to catch up, don't miss two, because you're also going to have other assignments, you're going to have other things that you need to do within the time when you are not face to face with us. And when I say face to face, I'm talking about your online classes. Now, I am going to also encourage you. Hold on. Somebody sent a message. Hold on. Let me just address this 1 second. I see the message pop up and then all of a sudden I'm not seeing it anymore. So I'm not quite sure what happened there. Somebody was saying they're not hearing me. Something about being blocked. I'm not quite sure what that is. I am not hearing anything. I am seeing you are blocked. I don't know how to address that, Ms. Hilton. I'm not sure. You might need to check your settings, because on my side, I think I am okay. Are the rest of you hearing me? Just acknowledge, please. Raise your hand if you're hearing me. Okay, so Ms. Hilton, I'm gonna ask you then. Thank you, guys. I'm gonna just ask you to check your machine and see what it is possibly that is causing you not to hear me. Not sure. All right, so back to what I was saying now. At the end of the course, right? students will receive one of 3 certificates, possibly. That is if you come to the course for the entire time, right? Your certificate of achievement is one that says that you came to the course and you did well. So you were able to pass both the theory and the practicals without a problem. Your certificate of participation speaks to your ability to competently manage a patient, but for some reason you've had some difficulties with the theory, right? And then your certificate of attendance is a certificate that is issued that basically says that you came to the course. And it is not automatic that you will get a certificate of attendance. Because if you have 90%, if you have less than 90% attendance, then you will not get a certificate of attendance, right? So, like I said, it's going to be up to you how much time and effort you are willing to put in to the course. Now, sometimes students are enrolled in this course because their organization send them. Let me just put it very bluntly as that, because students will say, well, I came to this course because my organization sent me. Now, I don't know what the circumstances could be from your organization end why they would send you. But what I would say, when students come in with that kind of mindset, where it's really not of any interest to them, but they are only here because their organization has sent them, you find that the effort that is required to be successful in the course is not there, right? So if there's anybody that is in the course that really don't want to be a part of the course and it is only because your organization has sent you, I would recommend to you that you have a talk with your organization, and maybe they could find somebody who might have an interest over you in being there. Why am I even mentioning this? I'm saying this because, ladies and gentlemen, when you are certified as an EMT, it is about saving lives. It is about not causing further injury to a person who is injured. And so if you don't have the interest in doing that, then I don't think that it would be the right field for you to be in, right? And I'm just saying that rather than being here and you're not engaged, then allow somebody in your organization who may have that interest to come in and to be engaged, because at the end of the day, it's people's lives that we are talking about, and lives matter, right? So that is my encouragement to you this morning, should you find yourself in such a situation. All right, so that is as it relates to your certificates. I'm going to pause at this time and I'm going to ask you if you have any questions. I have been speaking for quite a while. Yes, go ahead, Ms. Bingham.
All right, so it's every Tuesday and Thursday from 8:30 until 4:30, right?
That is correct.
Thank
Now,
you.
depending, let me just also say that depending on the lecturer, the instructor that you have for that day, the time could be shorter, right? But classes are from 8:30 to 4:30 on a Tuesday and on a Thursday. Depending on how fast or slow the class progresses would also determine whether you'll go all the way up to 4:30. Sometimes classes may end at 3, but like I said, that's just dependent on the lecture that you have and the how well you well let me say how many questions you may have during that class time. And as I'm saying that, let me also encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, to stay ahead of your class. Meaning, you will get a timetable that's going to tell you what sessions you have when, what areas are going to be covered when you're going to have your exams, etc., etc. I think what would be good for you to do is for you to read ahead. So say, for example, next week we're going to start with Introduction to EMS. Your textbook basically gives you the guide for the course because we follow that text almost in sequential order. There may be 1 or 2 sections that we might do before. For example, trauma, I think we do trauma before we do medical. And in your text, it's the other way around, but your timetable would guide you. So for example, next week, we're going to start with Introduction to EMS. I would say to you, go ahead and read ahead of the lecture so that when you are going through the lecture, when the lecturer is presenting, you would not be out in the deep blue sea. You would at least have read some things and you would have had some questions, because unless you have been exposed or in the field of EMS, there are things that are going to be new to you, and so you would have questions. We expect that in those face-to-face sessions or on virtual sessions, that you are going to come with your questions. All right. So that would be the ideal scenario. Say, for example, work got in the way and you didn't get a chance to read ahead of, and you are in the class. Please be focused so that whatever it is that you don't understand as the lecture is going, you can ask questions. Now, some lecturers may say to you, please hold your questions until the end of the presentation. It means that you will have to take notes during the lecture and you write down your questions. So whatever it is that is not very clear as the lecture is being presented, you can have that cleared up at the end of the presentation. Right? Now, your worst case scenario is going to be you didn't read ahead, you're in the class, you don't understand what is happening, and you don't ask any questions. That's your worst case scenario. Because each section that is presented, the next lecture is going to build on that. So if your foundation is weak, you're going to have a problem because the house is going to come tumbling down at the end of the day, right? So you want to make sure that your foundation is strong. And the only way that you're going to build a strong foundation is for you to clarify in your mind what it is you do not understand. Now, we know that you don't know, and that is why you are here, right? It is therefore our job to clarify as best as we can and to answer all the questions that you have to the best of our knowledge, right? And if it is that you have asked for explanation, it has been given, and you're still not sure, there's lots of information on the internet that you can also find to help clarify. And if you have done that and you're still not sure, then again, you need to approach your instructor, right? Never assume that we know that you know. All right? All right, that leads me down the road of examinations. Your exams will be online, most of them. Not all examination will be online. Most of your exams will be online. Your final examination is going to be face to face, or at least at this moment in time, that is the plan, that your final exam will be face to face. The course is divided into 9 modules, and it is expected that for you to successfully complete that, you complete all 9 modules successfully. The pass mark is 70%, not 69%, it is 70%. Here is what I have seen happen in the past since we have gone online. Students do their exams online and they score very high, 90s, 100s, 80s, and that kind of thing. And so, as an evaluator on the back end, you look at the scores and you say to yourself, okay, this student is doing well. They are understanding the concepts that are being taught. Yes? Then comes the student to the practical sessions. And you find that they are at 20% knowledge. Now, if it is that you understand the concepts theoretically, you should be able to transfer that into the management of your patient in a practical setting. Yes? So we find students are scoring 80s, 90s, and 100, but then when they come to the practical session, all they have is a 20 and a 10% knowledge. Now there's a disparity, right? And so it begs the question of who it is that sits with you while you're doing an exam. What material are you referring to as you are taking these exams? Now, the only person that can answer that question is going to be you, right? Because we are not policing your exams. But what will happen at the end of the course is that you would have gotten all these great grades, but still not being able to be certified. Because when it comes to the situation where you have to articulate, right? Where you have to articulate the management of a patient and why it is that you are treating this particular patient this particular way, when you're not able to do that, then the two things are not connecting, right? So I am going to encourage you to ensure that you do your own work. Whatever it is that you don't understand, this is training ground, then you need to bring that to the attention of your lecturers so that it can be explained to you and you can have a better understanding. For students who get 80s and 90s, we can't help you when it is not your own work, because in our minds, you are doing well, you understand, right? We wouldn't think of you having an issue. So I want you to be, cognizant of that and to ensure that you are doing your work yourself. It is better to get an honest 20% than a dishonest 100%. Because with 20%, we can see where your weaknesses lie and we can assist you in that regard. All right? Are there any questions? Any questions? All right. So the textbook that we use is the Emergency Care and Transportation of the Sick and Injured, and we'll be using the 12th edition. Yes, Ms. Russell, go ahead.
Good morning, Miss.
Good morning.
I'm asking if it's the same link we're gonna use to go on the classes Tuesdays and Thursdays.
All right. So your registration should have come through already. I am going, as soon as I'm finished with this orientation session, I will be heading into the office to find out what is happening in that regard. So you will get a username and password coming from MITS. So you have to look out for that in your email. And I will send you the instructions as to how to access the platform. So if your registration doesn't come through during the course of this week, then we will use the same link on Tuesday. But I do not anticipate that you wouldn't be all set up during the course of this week. So having said that, let me also say that classes are going to officially start next week, Tuesday. I think what happened is when the information went over in December because of the holidays, it got thrown. So I'll have to go in office and sort out that bit today. So we're going to use the rest of this week to get your registration information up and that you will have access. Now, once you have access to the platform, you won't need this link to come into your class. You will go on the platform and you will join the sessions from there, right? And Mr. Turner, go ahead.
Okay, Miss.
Does that, okay, you're welcome. Mr. Turner, you have a question, go ahead.
Good morning. The book that we're supposed to use, is it that we have to buy it, or what's the situation with the book that we're gonna have to read from?
So yes, you will need to purchase it. So the recommended text is, as I said, Emergency Care and Transportation of the Sick and Injured. It's the 12th edition that we're using. Now, there is information on the platform once you get on the platform. There is information that is out there. So until you get your copy of the book, I mean, there are lectures and lecture notes that are on the platform that you can use. I would say to you, if you can afford the book, then you should get the book, right? Because that is a guide that is going to take you through the course. All your examination and assessment, the information is contained in that textbook, right? The lecture notes will give you good information, but you won't have detailed information in the lecture notes. Hence, why I said to you that you need to ask questions, you need to prepare ahead of, so that you can have clarity. Okay? Any other question? Go ahead, Marsha.
Morning, everyone. Good morning, Miss.
Good morning.
Can this book be purchased in the regular bookstore?
No. So we don't have those books here, at least not to my knowledge. They're not here in Jamaica in the regular bookstore. You will most likely have to purchase them online. Amazon, well, I know that a couple students in the past, that's where they have purchased them through Amazon because I do think that's the cheapest avenue. Um, I'm sure there might be other places I can't speak of. I know about Amazon, since that's where most of my students would say that they had gotten them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Ms. Russell, do you have a question, or is that an old hand?
No, miss, no question.
Okay. All right. Yes, Miss Bingham, go ahead.
So you mentioned so class resume next Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So next week, Tuesday. Let me also just apologize. I just realized that. Let me apologize for the absence of Mr. Rufus, who will be your chief instructor for this course. He is actually in classroom this morning with another group of students, and the internet connection at UA onto the platform is not very good. So he wasn't able to join us this morning, but for sure you will meet with him next week, Tuesday, when we start class. Now, let me just tell you what will happen during this week. For the rest of this week, I want you to be able to gather your thoughts, get yourselves in the groove, based on what I have said to you today, to get yourselves in the groove for preparation for class next week. It is my intention to send you the timetable in this week so that you will have the opportunity to read ahead of class starting next week, right? I'll also mention to you that your foundation chapters for this EMT course lies between patient assessment, airway management, and shock, right? So you want to ensure that those 3 modules, you have that down pat, because on that, everything else is going to be built, right? So just bear that in mind as a little side note. Okay. Yes, somebody raised their hand a while ago. I'm seeing 3 hands up. Yes, go
Can you
ahead, Ms.
repeat
Bingham.
the models, please?
So it's airway management, patient assessment, and shock. But those are your foundation chapters. You want to make sure that you have a solid understanding in those areas. All right. The register will be taken based on the attendance online. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be very, very important, or let me mention this yes, it is going to be imperative, and I can't stress this enough, that you have good internet connection, particularly when it comes to your examinations, because you will have an allotted time in which to complete your exams. If you get kicked off during your exam, as long as you still have time left, you'll be able to continue. But once the time goes, so say for example, exam starts at 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, in the morning. You have 1 hour to do your exam. 20 minutes into the exam, you get kicked off the internet. And you don't get to log back on until 9:30. You will have from 9:30 to 10 o'clock to complete the exam. Now, if you get kicked off at, say, 9:30, 9:45, and your internet doesn't come back until 10:15, then you would have missed the rest of the exam, because the exam is going to close at that whatever time period is set up. So the exams are time sensitive. So I'm going to stress that you make sure that on the day of your exam, you have good internet connection. You can get away with it for the classes because the classes are recorded, and then you can go back and listen to the class session at some other time. But it is not the same for your exam. Now, students, if it is that you miss an exam because you didn't remember that you have the exam to do, you're not going to get an opportunity to sit that exam. You will have to sit it as a resit exam. Okay? Each resit comes at a cost of $3,000. So whether you fail an exam, or you missed an exam, or you didn't have internet connection, whatever the situation may be, then once you didn't take the exam and that exam has passed, then it's a resit exam that you will have to take. Okay? I hope I am clear. If I'm not clear, please let me know. All right, on the issue of resit. Now you have the opportunity of resitting an exam only twice. So if you sit the exam, so say for example today is airway management and you have airway management exam today. You did the exam and you failed it. Then you have an opportunity of resitting that airway exam another time. You resit it and you fail it, you get a last chance to sit that exam. If you sit it the second time, if you resit it the second time and you fail that exam, then we recommend that you get some remediation before you have an attempt at that exam again. What does remediation mean? Remediation means that you need to go back to covering that module with an instructor. Now, that instructor can be outside or inside of PHEMS. If it comes through PHEMS, it means that you would have to join a course that is going on, because we don't have extra classes, so to speak. Right? So it's when another course is running for that particular module, you would need to come back. When the course ends on the 2nd of April, you have 3 months following that to complete the course. In the sense that if come the 2nd of April, you had maybe a module or 2 modules that you had outstanding, whether you have a resit exam to do or whatever the case may be, you have a maximum of 3 months when the course is finished to do whatever resit exams you have and to complete. If at the end of that 3-month period, you still have exams outstanding, or you have not been able to complete successfully within that time, then the appropriate certificate will be presented. Am I making myself clear? If I have said something that you don't understand, please let me know. All right. Okay, go ahead.
How
You
soon after
mentioned
failing a course or internet can you reset it? A day, 2, a month, what?
Usually it's 2 weeks after. That's the
Okay.
recommended time. That if you fail an exam, you give yourself two weeks
So
after.
what if you
It,
didn't fail it and you just had internet problems?
then we can arrange for something. So we look at the schedule. Sometimes it can be within the week, sometimes it might be the next week. It just depends. Because that would be done on an individual basis. Any other question? Yes, go ahead.
so you mentioned that the course end on the 2nd of April, right?
Correct.
Once the module is finished, not talking about failing or anything. So the 2nd of April, then before that we'll do our final examination or after?
Before. So your final exam will come. I'll look. Mr. Rufus sent me the timetable yesterday. I haven't had a chance to look through it to see the exact date for your final exam, but I will look at that and you'd be guided by your timetable. Now, if anything, while it is that we'll send out a timetable and it provides a guide, it is not in stone, right? Because a lot of times, depending on the class as a whole, how sometimes we'll have classes that will move quicker than the timetable because of the students that comprise the class. There are times when we have a timetable out, but we have to move slower because of the students that comprise the class. So I want you to look at the timetable, note the dates, and have a general idea of where we're heading, and just with the flexibility that things could run a little slower or a little faster, just depending on the class as a whole. But yes, your final exam would be before the 2nd of April. If the 2nd of April is the Friday, then I would say your final exam would be at latest, say the Wednesday. Go ahead.
As it relates to the certification after the exam, is it done like a month, 2 months before you can get your certification?
All right, so
Once
say
you
we finish. Right, so once you successfully complete your exam, usually your certificate is going to come about a week or 2 weeks after. Excuse me 1 second. Sorry about that. Ms. Rosley had a question. Go ahead.
Miss, I don't know why that hand keep going up, but I don't have any
All right.
question.
Okay, all right. All right. So did I answer your question? I got interrupted with a phone call a while ago. Yes, Miss Bingham, go ahead.
So my final question, as it relates to the certification, is it can I use that certification? Are you hearing me?
I heard, can I use that certification? That's the last thing I heard.
Yes, can I use that certification internationally?
All right. So let me say this as it relates to in the Caribbean, sure. In the US, depending on the state. And what happens generally is if you go, I don't know about Canada and I don't know about the rest of the world, um, because I have not had the experience of students elsewhere that have asked for recommendation or they have asked for their transcript elsewhere or know of them working anywhere else outside of the Caribbean and in the US. So in the Caribbean, I would say yes, it is widely accepted across the Caribbean. In the US, it is some states. Now, what my experience has been with persons who have used it in the US is that whether the organization or if they're going back to school, they request the transcript from us for them. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me also just say to you that the curriculum that we use for the EMS course is a US-based curriculum, and it follows the pattern of the National Registry. So when a school asks for your transcript, as they would have gotten it from another school in the US, is what your transcript is going to look like coming from us going to them. The universal pass mark, according to National Registry, is 70%. Now, how your transcript is set up is that if you do an exam, your initial grade goes on your transcript. And if you've had a resit for a particular module, then that resit grade also goes on your transcript. But your initial grade for every module is recorded on your transcript, as well as the resit for that particular module, right? So usually they will ask for the transcript and they work from there. Whatever the criteria is for the particular organization or the school, I don't know. I've had students who haven't had a problem using it, and I have had students who have had to do the course over. But like I said, it is dependent on what your grades look like and how you are able to present yourself in that situation, if you're knowledgeable or not. Did I answer your question, Ms. Bingham?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
All right, great. Yes, Ms. Richards, go ahead. I'm not hearing you. Can anyone else hear what Ms. Richards is saying?
No.
Okay. All right, Ms. Richards, check your mic again and then let's try again. Anybody else have any other question? Go ahead. Sorry. Ms. Bingham, go
On
ahead.
the timetable states as it relates to when we're going to do practical, correct?
Correct. Correct. It will tell you when your practical sessions will be. I am also, because a part of what we generally do for the EMT course, which we had stopped since COVID, is your hospital rotation. I am looking into that situation again, and I've had dialogue with one of the hospitals, but I also now have to be guided by the university policy as it relates to that. And so we're watching very carefully at this time the cases, the COVID-19 cases. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to send you into hospital during this time, but I'll keep you posted as it relates to that, because at the end of the day, safety is first, right? And we don't want to have any of you going in there and getting COVID. So we'll see if what happens with that. All right, is there anything else? Anybody have any other questions? All right, the other thing that we're going to remind you of is when you are online, once you're not speaking, then we ask that you ensure that your mics are muted, right? Because our background can be varied, right? So you want to just ensure that your mics are muted. Okay. This pretty much, if you don't have any other questions, anybody with any question? All right, Joel Beckford. So the last
so
thing that I need, can you please send me in the chat your email address? The email address that no, hold on before I say it to you. 1 second, I have an email address for somebody that is bouncing. So hold on, let me just double check this 1 minute. Let me see if it's yours. No, it's not yours. All right, do you know? Okay, Miss Gooden, there's someone from your organization, Chanel Beckford. I don't think he or she, I'm not sure if it's a he or she, did not get this email today because that email bounced back.
Okay.
So I don't know if you can reach out to that individual and ask them please to send me their email address.
Yeah, okay. Okay, ma'am, will do.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if there are no other questions, I think that is going to be it for orientation session for this morning. Like I said, look out in your email this week for your registration information. It's a two-part process. So let me just explain it. It's a two-part process. When MITS, when you get that email from MITS, it's going to give you two sets of, I guess numbers are a combination of code is the correct word. You're going to get two sets of code. One is your username. Generally, the username starts with 8, with the number 8, and it ends with a P at the end. That is your username. And then the other code that you get is your password. Once you get that email, you can use that to log on to our system. So you're going to go to the university main page, right? So you're going to go into Google and you're going to go to university main page. Click on their online system. You will see a screen comes up that on the left hand side it says staff, it says students, and on the right it says staff. Then you're going to go to Orville, Ourvle. You click on that. And there it will ask you for your username and password. And you're going to use that information that you get from MITS to log in. Once you have logged in, you will need to look for PHEMS, right? So you can go to the search bar at the bottom of the page and you're going to type in PHEMS, PHEMS, right? Once you type that in, you're going to see the pre-hospital emergency medical service pop up. You're going to click on it and it should say to you at that point, you're not able to enroll yourself in this course. Once you get to that stage, you need to contact me because we will now need from our faculty to give you access, right? So it's a two-part process. I don't want you to do one part and then it's sitting there and waiting, because if you don't tell me that you have logged in, I won't be able to get our faculty to do the rest of it, right? So that's what you can expect this week. What I also want you to expect is your timetable. So I'll send off the timetable to you between today and Wednesday. And you can go ahead, if those who have the book, you can go ahead and start reading and you can start from chapter 1, right? Remember I said the foundation chapters are patient assessment, airway management, and shock. So, but I would encourage you to read from chapter 1 because that's going to give you an insight into what this whole EMS operation is about. And it's important for you to understand what it is that you're getting into. As you read, you are going to find that some things that they speak about, you may not be able to identify that in your own country. And that's simply because we don't have a developed EMS system as what exists in other parts of the world, right? But do not be dismayed. All right, so that's it for me for today. If you have no further questions, then the last thing that we will do before we go is for each person to introduce themselves. I'm going to start with, as I can see you on my screen, right? So just to say who you are, which organization you're from, and why it is that you're doing this course. So I'll start with Brittany Campbell.
I wasn't hearing you earlier. Can you please repeat?
Okay, so I'm saying that we're going to introduce ourselves, and I'm starting with you by you giving your name, which organization you're from, and why it is that you're doing this course.
Okay, good morning again, everyone. My name is Brittany Campbell. I'm from the NC Holdings Limited organization. The reason I'm doing this course is because I want to learn more about the EMC program and how to better assist my mom because she has medical illnesses.
All right, thank you, Miss Campbell.
You're welcome.
And then we move on to Miss Carla Johnson.
Hi, good morning again. I'm Carla Johnson, a practical nurse at CPR Medical, currently based Sutherland Global, And the reason why I want to do this course is to learn more about saving lives.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Dwayne? Dwayne is there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Dwayne Edwards. I'm a data analyst at Miranda Bauxite. The reason I'm doing this course is I'll be able to be a part of a team to assist if there are any emergencies, and also professionally to personal development, pretty much personal development, and to assist my fellow colleagues and family.
All right. Fair enough. Thank you. Fiona? Fiona, are you there? All right. So we'll move on to Gawain Turner.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Gawain Turner. I am a land surveyor at Noranda Bauxite. Actually, my reason for doing this course is we work in an industry that is very, what do I say now? It's very easy for people to get hurt, and I would like to be able
All right. His internet is giving him trouble. All right. So we lost Gawain there.
Oh no, yeah. So I was saying that I want to be able to help my colleagues and also my family if the situation arises.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. How long have you been at Norando, if you don't mind me asking?
I have been there since 2007.
Okay. Okay. All right.
You're wondering if I know anybody, somebody that you know?
No. I was wondering if you were with JEP before.
No, I wasn't. I've been
Okay.
employed to Noranda all my working years.
All right. Fine. No problem.
All right.
All right. So, Fiona, thank you, Mr. Turner. Fiona, I see your hand is up, went up. Internet looks unstable. I'm not quite sure. Can you hear me? Can you speak? All right, we'll come back to you. So I'll move on to Joel. Joel Beckford. Not hearing you.